If you've been playing ZZZ recently, you've seen just how busted the newest limited S ranks have been, and with Miyabi coming right around the corner, that statement's only gonna get more true. But with all these new, literally flashy characters, the unsung heroes of Zenless Zone Zero continue to go unrecognized. The BANGBOO. Although, with how much damage some of them do, it's pretty obvious why they're unrecognized. But hey, you read the title. Today, I'll be putting our cute little companions to the test and seeing if they can clear SHIYU defense on their own. Kind of. Before starting, I did a test run on the easiest floor to get a feel for things, and it took a while. Nowhere near as long as the later floors, but I didn't know that. What I did figure out though was that the BANGBOO couldn't finish off the boss, so I was gonna have to tap them when their health bars were empty. I also decided to use Red Mocus because as of recording, it's the only BANGBOO that has an active skill that deals damage and gets the skill buffed by a faction. Everyone else just gets their chain attack buffed, but we can't use those. Once I had that stuff squared away, I decided to start. Each Mocus hit did about a third of the first guy's health, and it wasn't so bad. Okay. He's getting in gear. Mods, how much damage will he do? Imagine he misses. Okay. The longer the run became, I started becoming kind of grateful that the BANGBOOs couldn't die, but I kind of forgot that I still could and had a few sloppy dodges. Wake up! Eventually though, his HP dropped to 0 and we moved on to the next boss, who took even longer. How much damage does he do? Let's see. We're gonna be here for a while. During the run, I also remembered that the BANGBOO has a daze stat multiplier, and I wanted to see if the BANGBOO could accumulate any kind of daze or trigger a chain attack. I looked it up though, and they can't trigger a chain attack, and the daze they accumulate is like abysmal. It went up by 7? Yo, goated or what? So I kind of gave up on the idea of parrying. After waiting patiently, Mocus finally got his HP down to 0, so I finished him off. Yo, crazy angle by the way, what the what? After getting flashed, I checked the second floor resistances, and I just hoped that Red Mocus having a level advantage would even it out. I knew that on the later floors, level disadvantages and resistance debuffs were going to make this way harder, but I did the right thing and stopped thinking about it. I guess I figured I would just deal with it later, which I love how when his cooldown's up, instead of like trying to help in any way, he just like walks around aimlessly doing nothing or getting his ass whooped. Eventually, Mocus whittled down the robot's health and I went to take him out. Apparently, the health bars in this game aren't very accurate. What? I just tapped him again and in came this motherfucker. I can't counterattack, which grants a generous amount of invincibility frames after your perfect dodges, by the way, so these projectile spammer characters were annoying. Plus, he sent out these stupid half HP dealing drones, literally cooked my BANGBOO, and died in 2 minutes. And I got flashed again. Anyways, after the second frontier, I realized pretty quickly that I didn't have another reliable BANGBOO. So I panicked and then spent the next 20 minutes trying to figure out a suitable replacement for the second half, but I couldn't really find one. At least not with what I had at the time. Should I have other BANGBOOs level 60? Yes. Do I? No. Now, in my defense, inflation's kicking pretty hard, right? Now you might say, 150,000? Wow, that's okay. Well, it's not a lot, but it's not. You're not poor. You're not broke. Now you might be saying that, but think about it like this, right? Think about it like this. Let's take a visit over on to Enzo's. Let's see what Enzo has to say when his good old friend Belle rolls in with her chump change. Poor. That's what he says. So. Listen, as much... Oh shit, wait, I have Butler. I figured out that I had previously ascended Butler, but that didn't help too much either, considering that his active skill doesn't deal any damage. Rocket Boo ended up being the next best contender, considering I already had him at level 50 and his active skill dealt consistent damage. The only problem was... it doesn't even cost that much to level up a character from 50 to 60. Okay, oh shit. Well, it doesn't cost that much, it costs more, but whatever. I was stuck debating whether or not I should spend the 250,000 Dennies ascending a BANGBOO I wasn't sure I was going to keep using, And I was also pretty confused on how I was going to get another 100,000 pennies in the first place.
Can you shut up, Enzo?
But before I made any account-breaking decisions, I decided to just give Frontier 3 a shot with BANGBOO before spending any dennies. Thankfully, the first boss was weak to physical and also pretty easy to dodge. It was still taking longer than floors 1 and 2 because of the level increase, but it wasn't all too bad. Mocha's gonna be able to hit him. Yes, he will. Okay. So we can keep running like this. Editor Sparky, speed it up. He keeps getting tired. He stops to take a breath. This annoying ass military unit was kind of why I wanted to be able to parry and stun in the first place. He literally never sent out anything parryable though, so I just had to deal with it. To be honest, even after just 6 minutes, I already found myself getting bored and looking for ways to either make the boss fight go faster or make it easier on myself. And then, of course, this happened. This boss is at like a 1/6 of its base. Oh, it's got a shield. Well, that's not good. I didn't think about that. To my knowledge, shields can only break one of two ways, maxing out daze and stunning the enemy, or afflicting it with an anomaly. Fortunately for us, our BANGBOO can do neither of those. It didn't really matter though, as apparently I was holding my mouse too tightly or something. So, I restarted. I'm a man of my word. Minus 6 minutes. And in my own words, we are going to be here for a while. This rang even truer as 30 seconds into my restarted run, my BANGBOO broke. It attacked once and then never again, which is a glitch that, lucky for me, showed up more than once in this challenge. It even took me a whole minute of waiting to realize. Yo, why is Mocha's not hitting him? I zoned out, but he isn't hitting him. He hasn't hit him in like, it's been like a minute. He hasn't used his skill at all. Is he bugged? After waiting even longer for him to just use his skill once, I eventually got pissed and then just restarted the run. Minus 2 minutes. A bit later, I got back to the military robot and Mocha's got it down to no health despite it consistently bringing its shield back. So I just took the liberty of finishing it off since it had already reached 0 several times. After over 16 minutes at this point, I finally reached the second half, and then remembered that the only reason I started this was to see if my level 50 BANGBOO was any good. The nice thing was, no matter how wild the boss's movements were, it didn't seem capable of missing. The damage, though, the damage was not really there. Speaking of damage, while the boss was doing a great job of damaging me, I was apparently having a really hard time of not damaging the boss while trying to get a shield. I then got frustrated and tried to unbind my combat buttons. Minus 4 minutes. Lucky for me, I couldn't figure out how to rebind them properly and ended up doing the exact same thing again. Minus 2 minutes. After a while, the challenge really began to get on my nerves and my dodging became a lot sloppier. Regardless, I just shut up and locked in. Is what I would say if I was a more soft-spoken, patient person. However, at least when I did this challenge, I wasn't, and I proceeded to reset like 3 more times. At least one of them was because the BANGBOO stopped working, or at least it looked like it did, and that just made me more annoyed. In my defense, I originally wanted to go for S ranks, which is definitely possible, but the amount of time the challenge was taking, plus the mood I was in, just made that not really ideal for me. I decided to just go for completion and stick it out to the end, and in the process of that, I phoned up a friend so I wouldn't go insane while circling the boss. Dude, on like every ZZZ video I have on my channel, I've made a joke about Lycon, and I feel like people are gonna think I'm like a gay furry now.
Maybe possible.
What? They started raging at Roblox though, and they didn't say bless you when I sneezed, so I deafened. 21.5 minutes and 1 dead Lycon later, I ulted on the boss while it was at 0 HP, thinking it was the end of the frontier, but there was a goddamn goblin I didn't know existed, so that was nice. As much as I wasn't looking forward to having to chip this guy's health down, something about Yanagi's unspeakable aura, or something corny like that, scared him off from attacking me several times, so that was funny. I also figured out that the most optimal way of dodging for prolonged periods of time was either running tight circles around the boss, or dodging in place. Or just running tight circles around the boss, that too. I took a little break to get something to eat and recuperate, and after that I came back and sat through the last 10 minutes my BANGBOO needed to get the goblin to 0 HP. After just 3 floors, I was already exhausted and seriously not looking forward to having to do several more days of this challenge. But I did it anyway. What was the time on that? 39-minute SHIYU defense clear. Cooked. By the time day 2 came around, I still didn't have any other good BANGBOO, but I had a lot of Denny's, and apparently a lot of gas. Excuse me, sorry. I ultimately, and stupidly, decided that I would need 2 BANGBOO for the coming floors. 1 electric and 1 ice, or ether. I farmed Denny's getting the money I needed to promote both ElectroBoo and RezonaBoo and started up stage 4. To put it simply, ElectroBoo's damage was subpar, and that was made even worse by the fact that it oftentimes missed part of its multi-tick move. I also am not really a fan of this enemy, but Seth's shield making him borderline invincible was quite nice. It was honestly kind of sad watching this footage back and seeing myself get hyped over such terrible damage, but that just goes to show how fun this challenge was. Anyway, ElectroBoo got bugged and wouldn't attack, so I had to restart again. You can tell they're not working because 90% of the time, BANGBOO were circling the boss and not glued to the player. They also rarely use their sprinting animation when they're not bugged, and they use it all the time when they have despawned and respawned. And they never attack. Anyway, I'm not going to keep track of the amount of time I lose anymore. Since Seth was basically invincible, I just had to bait out range attacks and hope ElectroBoo would hit his whole attack, which did happen a few times. For a while, I just continued running in circles and getting way too hype about tiny bits of damage.
Yo! Hit him, yeah!
Oh man, has it really already been 10 minutes?
Hey, time flies.
I wonder how much faster this would be going if I got, yeah, maxed out days, but I can't do anything about it. I wonder how much more damage we would be doing if, did he despawn? I think he despawned. No, we're good. Okay. I just think about like how much more, oh, the days actually hits 100 now. What the hell? That's not supposed to do that. The text is bugging out. It's gonna, I don't have OCD, but that 100 is gonna piss me off. Hey, I'm not even looking at the game. I'm just staring at the health bar right now. Is that, no. Is that 1/8?
Oh, now it's 1/5, yeah.
I'm gonna say 1/5. So this is gonna take about an hour, then. Cooked. Oh, good thing I had nothing else to do today. Eventually, though, I had to stop to take a bathroom break. You know that one sculpture? That guy sitting thinking? Well, on the toilet, just there. That was me. And it just occurred to me that 120% of 4,000 is still less than 80% of, like, 10,000. Well, 11,000. So basically, I restarted with Red Mocus and cleared in 8 minutes. On the other side, I wasn't too excited to fight my least favorite enemy in the game, Thanatos. In my opinion, it's a pretty damn annoying enemy to fight, and this was made worse by the fact that, despite RezonaBoo doing a lot of damage, he was hardly able to hit Thanatos, like, at all. I was definitely getting hit a lot, though.
Bro, he keeps...
After watching RezonaBoo miss his attacks constantly, I impatiently decided to tap the boss with a basic so that it would enter a stun state, as the BANGBOO can't do that themselves, and I was hoping that it would get hit. And
Get him, boy, get him.
did not care. I decided I wasn't going to do that again because it felt too much like cheating, and I let RezonaBoo do a few extra attacks when the boss was at 0 HP later to make up for it. For some reason or other, the boss backed me into a corner, and I noticed RezonaBoo hitting a lot more often. Oftentimes, RezonaBoo would open a wormhole next to the boss while he was trying to melee me, or where the boss was going to teleport, which was a nice surprise. Realizing this was the strat, for the next 20 minutes, I backstepped into a wall and, once again, got way too hype about my BANGBOO's pathetic DPS.
What the hell? Yeah, where have you been all my life?
By the time I got to the 37-minute mark, the boss's health bar had been empty for a while. However, I got impatient during the 20 minutes and stunned him again. It, again, did not work. What I said about stunning bosses still holds true, just after this floor. Anyway, I sat through a couple more active skills and finally killed Thanatos. Fuck you.
I thought my game was about to crash.
The 5th frontier wasn't looking too bad, so I ignored the electric resistance and just put RezonaBoo on again. The first half had this big-ass Typhon Slugger guy who, thankfully, had a similar melee pattern to Thanatos, and I figured I could just backstep in a corner again, so that's what I did. I lost a lot of health getting used to his attacks and had to restart once or twice, and then, after I started finding some success, my BANGBOO bugged out. I looked online trying to find fixes for a while, but nothing came up, so I had to restart again. I decided that that would be my last restart and went on dodging autopilot for 17 minutes. Next up was this big red guy who, thankfully, was weak to physical. This is still day 2, keep in mind, and recording the same thing for this long got me kinda loopy. feel like I'm gonna be here doing the challenge till like the heat death of the universe, bro. Tuh. Here, wait, let me mark that with my microphone using the audio. Surprisingly, running around in circles for over an hour while micromanaging your BANGBOO is actually pretty draining. I tried backstepping into a wall again, but ultimately, the best thing against this enemy type was just to run in tight circles around the center of the map. And if I did that, he'd either attack me less often or just miss me entirely. It became so repetitive that I almost fell asleep, and when I tried sitting up in my chair...
What the?
So, I let the BANGBOO do a few extra active skills on 0 HP and finished the floor off pretty easily. Once again, I found myself really tired and not wanting to do any more. I started off day 3 pretty strong with a lot of energy and not a lot of dennies in case there was another change of plans. I was pretty sure my current BANGBOO and strategies would be fine though. I loaded into Frontier 6 and my camera was bugged, so I closed the game. On attempt 2, I remembered you could break the Hottie's armor by parrying. Since it didn't deal any actual damage, I was fine with doing it, especially since even with his armor gone, it still took like 22 minutes. I'd show you more clips from that fight, but literally nothing happened. I just ran around in circles till he died. The other half was a lot more problematic though. This boss was similar to the red guy from earlier, but way more heavy hitting. The nice thing was that I could continue running in circles to pacify him, but if I messed up a circle or let him get too close to me, he'd very quickly follow up with an attack. It really shouldn't have been that hard, and it wasn't, but there were just extremely long periods of the boss doing absolutely nothing and then suddenly attacking that often caught me off guard. Also, you might have seen Lucy's guard boars showing up in the previous fights, and to be honest, the entire challenge they've just been kind of appearing sporadically. In her skills, it says that they spawn on the 4th hit of her basic, or after using her EX special or her ult, but I didn't do any of those things unless it was to finish off a boss, and they were still around. If they appeared, I was typically just adding on an extra active skill cooldown when the boss was at 0 HP to make up for their damage, but they weren't really doing anything, to be honest. In post though, I noticed that this particular instance of them spawning was because I got hit with a shockwave attack. I didn't even take any damage, I just got sucked into it. I was really confused, and I thought that I had done something wrong because they were literally there for the entire rest of the
Why
fight.
are you here?
If anybody knows why, like the specific exact reason, please comment it below, because I'm genuinely curious. Anyway, after a few more angry outbursts, the fight was finally done at around the 43-minute mark. And it was very laggy.
What happened?
Now we're on to day 4, which we're going to have to speed through the final days, day 4 and 5, because version 1.4 comes out in 2 hours. And I said Miyabi is coming out soon in the intro. Frontier 7 took me 2 attempts. I'll save you from having to listen to the raging during the first one by giving you the TLDR. I rage quit and close the game. This is mainly because we're not only fighting Thanatos, but this other guy with a really big sword arm. Both of them at the same time was not fun. Before retrying Frontier 7, I recalled Rizonobu's inability to hit Thanatos and immediately began looking for another BANGBOO to use. I tested Rizonobu and Sharkboo because they both had good type advantages to see which one hit more often, but they both sucked ass, so I finally just decided to ignore weaknesses and use RocketBoo. Best decision I've ever made. Now that I was ignoring weaknesses, I deployed Red Mocus, who was thankfully able to hit the boss. He defeated Thanatos first, who, despite having his health bar completely empty, refused to die. He's inflicted with Afterburn, but it doesn't trigger because it's BANGBOO attacks, and he dies from literally nothing. Thank God. And not too long after, we beat the other guy. 22 minutes is still 22 minutes, and because it was 2 guys on 1, fine boom, I did definitely struggle with dodging, but we got through without any deaths. Over the 20 minutes or so it took to kill these 2, I began to grow a deep hatred for the little guy, as he spammed more projectiles than an online NES player. Couple that with my very poor dodges and my health pool getting lower and lower, and the S rank I was hoping to get was seemingly harder and harder to obtain. At the very least, RocketBoo targeted the little guy, so we got him out of the way quickly. I was gonna have to survive an extra bit longer though because I apparently cannot stop misclicking. +1 active skill. I held out to the end though, and after 44 minutes I finished Frontier 7 with an S rank.
I was almost. What is that angle? What is that angle?
And Frontier 8 was not looking too hot. When day 5 came around, I was giving some motivational speech to the camera, but since what I find I said to be corny, I'm gonna kindly ask you to like and subscribe. Not that that's any less corny. Don't know if you can tell, but this video took a while. I seriously had to relax on the editing compared to other videos, and it's taken years off my life, so I'd really appreciate the support. Okay, on to D-Day. For the real endgame of Zenless Zone 0, I obviously decided to bring my goats, Red Mocus, and RocketBoo one last time. On the first floor was My god. We were off to a pretty terrible start. Red Mochas, despite being the BANGBOO of all BANGBOO, did like 0 damage for a few minutes. Not that he wasn't hitting him, it just hardly moved the health bar. Their doubly coordinated charge attacks weren't too difficult to dodge, but they were extremely punishing if I messed up, which added to the stress. And Bernice died, so I restarted. On attempt number 2, Thanatos used that BS teleport move 5 times in 1 minute, I shit you not. I was glad to have a modifier that healed on perfect dodges, but with how many times I got hit over the next 20 minutes or so, that healing didn't really help. The next 15 minutes or so went pretty well. I went to take a bathroom break and got greeted with a surprise attack, which wasn't nice. But other than that, despite getting hit every now and then, I had learned both of these enemies' attack patterns in previous frontiers, and since I hadn't done anything else ZZZ related day 5, I was pretty attentive and not too sloppy in my movements. Everything was actually going really smoothly. And by smoothly, I mean I was getting fucking demolished. It's safe to say, after 25 minutes, I was getting pretty pissed. By that time though, Red Mochas had gotten the goblin down, and that was already going to make things a lot easier. Believe it or not, it actually started looking up.
That's good damage too. Okay, my goats.
Until they weren't.
Did he despawn? Oh my god, he despawned.
At every point my BANGBOO quote-unquote broke in this challenge, I had 0 idea of what to do. I found no mentions of this online despite looking several times, and as you know, the only thing I knew that could fix it was restarting the run. Since we were already a half hour in though, I was dreading the idea of having to start over, especially since it meant having to deal with 2 guys at once Vine Boom again. So, before restarting, I wanted to try one last thing.
Maybe if we trigger a chain attack. Oh. Yo, yes! Yes, yes, we fixed it.
And by some miracle, it worked. Admittedly, Red Mochas' target tracking seemed messed up, and compared to earlier, the damage was like foobar, but it meant that I didn't have to restart. Although, since stunning the boss worked in waking up Red Mochas from his coma, I tried chain attacking to see if summoning Red Mochas through the chain attack would fix his damage, and it didn't. The chain attack didn't do a ton of damage, but I still stayed for an extra 10 minutes sitting through active skills to atone for my sins. Before we can even get to those extra 10 minutes though, I was going to have to wait until the boss's health dropped to 0. You might recall that one run where I started falling asleep around this time, and to nobody's surprise, that started happening again. At first, I thought about rewatching The Diarrhea Brothers Save the Day, but since this was the last day of the challenge, I didn't want to get too distracted by Peak. So instead, I put on some music, specifically the song Bad Sneakers, which is kind of ironic considering the lyrics. Eventually, the song ended, and I needed something rather shitty to put on loop. So, obviously, I opted for Thick of It. Seriously, all brain rot aside, the song was so ass that it kept making me laugh, which kept me awake, and having to sit up to skip Trippy Red's part every few minutes kept me on my toes.
Trippy Red's part, sorry, 1 sec.
In case you were wondering, you just have to press L on your keyboard twice.
Okay, we're good. Thick of It, You think Thick of It would be better if Trippy Red wasn't on it? Actually, never mind. What the fuck am I saying? It's KSI.
I thought about listening to some other stuff.
1 hour of silence, occasionally broken by Touch My Tail? No.
But ultimately, Thick of It was what got me through the tail end of those 60 minutes.
I hope I never have to hear that song again. Alright, I need to step away from my computer for a bit.
I took a break for a few minutes, and then it was time for the final floor.
Alright.
The second half was still looking rough, especially considering it was 2 guys on 1, Vine Boom, but at least alone, neither of these guys were too hard to dodge. Together was a bit tricky. Not gonna lie, I forgot about the circle running meta for a bit and took some hits because of it, but once I got back in the swing of things, it really wasn't too hard. Except for when I had to restart, and then when I had to restart again. Restarting runs early several times in a row bothered me, as I knew this half alone could easily take another hour and didn't want to add to my time spent here. Obviously, the best way to alleviate this was to cool off some steam by watching Good Mythical Morning. I am really outing myself on my interests here. I unpaused the game after a bit and just listened to the video in the background to keep myself awake and attentive. So much so that for the next 15 minutes, I said and did absolutely nothing except run in circles. Great content, I know. Everything was going very well until I guess I got a little sidetracked. Why? I wanted to switch off Yanagi since she had gotten quite low, but I knew that if I switched too quickly, it would activate quick assists, which is what happened. So I waited until the prompt disappeared, but I just didn't wait long enough. Why? The mini-boss was still Rockaboo's kill, thank god, but it got aided by the stun multiplier, and I dealt damage to the boss, so I was going to have to give myself another time penalty. Thankfully, these two were weak to fire and physical, and Rockaboo seemed immune to despawning. I'm guessing this is because his whole thing is flying across the map, and he would be pretty unusable if he despawned all the time. Because of those two bonuses, it wasn't taking as long as the previous half. But it was definitely going to if I didn't stop watching Good Mythical more. Also, I think the guard boards just appear when she takes damage. Also, the sequence of events got even worse as quick assist takes priority over parrying. And I didn't know that. Then I got confused about the guard boards again and learned jack all from the in-game guides. I swear to god, this guard board stuff literally could have gotten me put in a padded room. I was talking out loud, trying to think of any reason why they spawned. I studied the guide, I watched and waited for them to despawn, and they did not. Which, considering I was already pretty pissed at this point, did not make me any happier. I actually told my dad about this challenge and he said, "Yeesh, are you having fun?" And I said, "No." And that was the end of the conversation. The metal grinding sound effect the boss's weapon was making on the ground was driving me insane. And since I had decided not to watch any videos anymore, I opted for music again. But I did it differently this time. Since I knew that doing literally anything other than running in circles would keep me awake, I decided to sing karaoke. I really hope nobody got this far in the video. Somebody once told me that on long drives, truck drivers blast music to keep themselves awake, and I figured this was kind of similar to that. Also, it was fun, so like, sue me. If I just look at, I'm gonna do the first thing that comes up. Please don't be mid, please don't be mid, please don't be mid, please don't be mid. From the start, man. Oh, think of it, think of it. Me and you and awkward silence. At me, that bro, I'm literally, okay, I don't need it. Oh my god! Oh, I'm supposed to be scatting. Yeah, buddy. I went on with karaoke for a while, but I obviously grew kind of tired of it eventually, so I went back to YouTube videos. By this time, this singular frontier had gone on so long that the timer didn't work anymore.
What happened?
I guess it only goes up to double digits. The more you know. At the 1 hour and 43 minute mark, the boss's HP dropped to about 0. I sat through some extra active skills to make up for all the unintended damage I had done earlier, and finally, the challenge was over.
Happy New Year!
It's over.
Yeah!
That wasn't worth it. I said something at the end of the recording like, if the video gets 350 likes, I'll get all S ranks. It's 1000% possible, just for me? Honestly, I don't think this is gonna get 350 likes, and I'm doubtful even 350 people will see it, but you never know. You know what you gotta do if you want to see that, though. Alright? Challenge over. Have a good day, night, or evening. Tell somebody you love them, and I'm here to remind you that you're nobody till somebody loves you. And that somebody is me. I love you. Nobody's gonna get that reference. I don't know why I said it.